Welcome to Herf Zone Live, the show that is unlike any other cigar show, where we have the most eclectic lineup of guests, of which some smoke cigars and some who don't. Either way, we bring you the best content weekly. Herf Zone Live is sponsored by StogieLives.com, which is a social media cigar site just for cigar smokers. So go ahead and check them out, sign up, and it's got features that is very similar to Facebook, where you can start a profile, start groups, host events, all that good stuff. See why everyone is talking about StogieLives.com. And if you look in the description on YouTube and Facebook, you see that that Herf Zone Live and Team Shirtless Mike are teaming up with Stogie Press and Ace Prime Cigars, raising money for the people of Jalapa, Nicaragua. And you could check all that out in the Stogie Press link. You could see where you can donate and all that good stuff. And yeah, so we got an awesome show lined up for everyone tonight. When I tell you it's awesome, it's pretty much my biggest show to date. So it's gonna be awesome. I first met our guest Shorty Rossi. It was back in I think 2014. Before I was Shirtless Mike, before I had a platform, I was just a huge fan of Animal Planet's Pit Boss, and him and Jonathan Drew invited me to hang out with them at Coronas, and it just was an awesome night. So if you know who my guest is, or even if you don't, I'm gonna play a quick video before I bring him on here so that you can understand, where he came from, where he's going, and all that good stuff. So without further ado, I'll play a quick video, and then we're gonna bring him on.
He has a checkered past.
I ran with the wrong crowd and spent 10 years in prison.
And now runs a little person talent agency.
You couldn't even act in a damn Oompa Loompa outfit for an hour.
And Pitbull Rescue.
If I don't find this dog a home, that's a death sentence.
He might behave badly,
Get the boat cutters. We're stealing this dog now. All right.
but it's for a good cause.
Get in the car.
He's a huge pain in the
Ashley!
He screamed.
He's Shorty Rossi, and he is the Pit Boss. Premieres Saturday, January 16th at 10, only on Animal Planet.
All right, and waiting patiently in the Cigar Hustlers podcast green room, we got the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Shorty Rossi. So I'm gonna go ahead and bring him on screen here. What's going on, brother?
What's going on, Mike? How you been, dude?
I've been good, man. It's good to get you on the show, because like I mentioned in the beginning of the show, I met you before I even had a platform, and you treated me like gold. So, that's what I want to do, is invite you on my platform and do this fundraiser and, have an awesome interview to, for the people that follow what you do and all that good stuff. So what have you been up to? I know you just came back from a little bit of a trip.
We were on a 19-day tour. We went to South Dakota first to celebrate Wild Bill Days at Deadwood Tobacco and promote the Shorty Diesel line of cigars. And then we had to go do an event in San Francisco, and then go down to Santa Maria, California to check up on the motorhome mobile clinic. I guess we'll talk about that later. So we've been a little busy, and we're full down here at the rescue. And I don't know if a lot of people know, but we're live from La Misión, Ensenada, Baja California, Mexico, which is about 50 miles south of the California border.
So yeah, that's awesome. Now, for everybody out there that's watching, we have a nice little audience already. So scrolling across the screen is all the ways that you can donate to Shorty's Rescue. So if you go to shortysrescue.org, or on the Shirtless Mike stream, there's a link there where you could donate. And on my Instagram, Shirtless Mike 2020, you can donate there as well. We already got $145 raised, and every little bit helps. I'm not a big money person. I don't make a lot of money, but I gave what I could, and I, since I have a platform, I can influence others to be able to donate. So that's what we're going to do with this show. And this is going to be a Shorty Rossi interview, unlike one that you haven't seen, because, I've been a fan since he was on TV. I've probably read your book 100 times already. So I got the questions that nobody else has asked. So, and I know you're an open book. So yeah. And you're smoking a Diesel Shorty right now, right?
Yeah, this is the original one that was started the whole thing in the middle of 2010, and it was supposed to be a limited edition, but we're still rocking the Diesel Shorty original by AJ Fernandez.
Yep. Yeah, I remember when that first came out, and I've smoked a whole lot of them. And now there used to be a shop in my area that used to have them on the shelf. They got them from like a third party, but unfortunately they closed not because of COVID, but because of bullshit landlords that fucked them over in that sense. But so I wasn't able to get one. I don't like to order cigars online like that, so I probably could have, but I'm finishing up this La Roma de Cuba. But trust me, I always whenever I see Diesel Shorty or have an opportunity, I always do, and I have for many years. So we're gonna get started in this interview here. So you have an interesting story. So you grew up in a nice neighborhood, but your home life wasn't so much filled with love. Describe how you grew up and what led you to ultimately moving from the San Fernando Valley to Watts, California, into Nickerson Gardens projects.
Well, I mean, a lot of the problems were both, parent related and kid related. I ain't gonna sit here now that since I've grown to, throughout the years and realized, that you can't pinpoint the problem to, who was at the wrong the most because I wasn't an angel at the same time dealing with my father who had anger problems. So, it didn't work. Being, you know, little, 4 feet tall, or we're now 4 feet tall, I was probably 3'5" then, in a tall person's world had its disadvantages too. So, you act out and and when things ain't right, you run away and try for something different and something better. And for a while, I thought everything was good, moving on down into the projects, not, seeing things the way I saw them and being arrogant and hard headed and thinking I can do what I wanted to do. But, a lot of times, people do things that they not realize they're doing wrong, whether it's the son or the father, but that'll happen. Nothing's going to change what happened during me growing up. And the good thing is it may have took about 30 years, but I'm more closer to my family now than I've ever been in my entire life.
Yeah, and that's awesome. So in Nicholson Gardens, though, when you moved down there, it was a blood neighborhood. You were associated with a few of the biggest families in the hood. Once you started living in Nicholson Gardens, did you become part of the Bloods, like where you jumped in as an actual gang member? Or did you just have like a pass due to your associations?
Well, one of the family that I knew that I went to school with, because a lot of them were being bused from Watts into the San Fernando Valley, which they no longer do because now cities are more integrated now. But so I kind of understand how people from the projects were being treated differently as little people were. So there was like a bond, and the family there was a big family in the in that project. So everybody knew everybody. When I ran away the last time, and ended up living there permanently for a while, um, I started knowing I was always hanging around the older ones of the gangs, and of course they're teaching me all the negative things, and it became where I became part of the group as a pass and not an initiation because who I knew.
Okay. Yeah, because I wasn't quite clear on that because I'm from both the hood and the suburbs, and I never was like there's really not any gangs like that over here other than like small like little cliques. So it's I've always been cool with everybody, so I figured that that's kind of how you were. But the neighborhood you were living
In
in
the
had
'80s, a lot of things were going on that don't go on today. It was very
yeah,
more violent back then. I mean, very. It was like there was only one or two people that weren't African American or black. Now it's probably 50% Hispanic and 50% African American, but it's a whole new neighborhood and it's becoming different. But when I was there, it was, police didn't want to drive in.
yeah. Definitely. And so the neighborhoods you were living in had pit bulls everywhere. And just like every hood in America, pit bulls were used for fighting and for breeding. And what led you to choosing your first pit bull, Coco? And what do you think kept you from following the crowd and not using your pit bull for the negative activities in the hood?
Well, I've witnessed a lot of dog fights from a very young age, starting at 14 years old. And I could never fathom getting myself into it. I didn't like it. It was to me barbaric, and they tried to get me involved. And even when I ended up getting my first pit bull when I was in junior high school, or yeah, or even ninth or 10th grade, it was it became my best friend, and it gave me another understanding of misconceptions and people always, the media categorizing the breed when it wasn't that. And again, I understood what it was like being treated differently because of what you look like or the way you acted. And so I had that bond, and it made me want to get more involved with animals and doing the right thing. And I was able to walk around the neighborhood without a leash with this big dog, and nothing would happen. A lot of people would be fearful and would, but it was something that didn't know that was going to lead to the rest of my life.
Yeah. And you were working a legit job. This was kind of like a little as you got a little older or whatever, but so you were working a job, I believe it was like at a bank or whatever. If your friends, you used to kind of gather up before they had security cameras and businesses and all that. You were gonna plan what you were gonna do that night and
Yep.
everything. And one particular night, you never knew that these individuals were on a robbing spree. So once you got in the truck, you didn't know like what was gonna happen. It's just like all of a sudden, since they were on some hot stuff, previous, and then you guys got to a shootout, and then you ended up hitting an innocent bystander, and you kind of got away for a night, but eventually you get picked up and end up in jail. What was going through your mind during that time period, being so young and realizing the situation that you were in?
It was weird because out of the five, one, two, three, you've done your research. I can tell you that much. One, two, three. Out of the five of us, two of them got caught that night. Uh, Later on that morning, the other two got caught, and later on that day, I ended up get caught because they found out where I was going to one of my crime's residents to go hide like an idiot. And out of nowhere, they came out of everywhere in front of a elementary school to arrest me. And it didn't dawn on me what was really going on, what was really happening, what we did wrong. And so even there, I was kind of one of the first couple. It was a holiday weekend, so they put us in a substation. They were doing what, back then what they used to do with their abuse, how to get people to talk and everything. And the funny thing is, I kept having, we'll call them nightmares, because
Mm,
every morning before I wake up, I would have a dream that I was walking out
mm,
5 straight days. So, I mean, and then you wake up and you're still laying on a concrete slab. So it didn't really dawn on me until I went to my preliminary arraignment in municipal court, where I walked in and it was like a media circus. And and all the police were there. The highway patrol was involved. The LAPD was involved. The county sheriffs was involved. Everybody, because it was multi jurisdiction, and it kind of like my lawyer then. It was public defender was defending me, saying this is Mr. Rossi's first time, offense, blah blah blah. And the judge turned around and goes, "No, it's the first time he's been caught." And
mm.
then that's when it sunk in.
Mm. And while you were in the county jail and everything, you experienced more racism than you ever have in your life. Of course, there were politics involved. You wanted to be housed with the Bloods because that's what you knew. People from your neighborhood and everything. But there was still a risk of violence, just like there was if you were housed, with the white inmates. You eventually broke down lots of barriers that nobody had ever seen before, and you had the protection of the Bloods. Why do you think you were successful in being housed with the Bloods as a white little person?
That was one of the biggest, riskiest things I've ever done in my life. Uh, Not again, young and stupid. I was hard headed, and I wanted to be with everyone I knew and not people that I didn't know. because I was able to trust them more than anybody. And when I was telling the deputies in LA Men's Central Jail, and they thought I was out of my mind, but they're like, "Oh, we can get this little man hurt." They didn't like the commingling of races, and they
Yeah.
put me in there thinking bad things were going to happen, and they couldn't believe it was like a reunion of people that I kind of grew up with throughout the years that I haven't seen, or or they recently got arrested, or they're fighting up there. Some of them fighting cases for 5 years, so it was just a thing, and it was always risky. So you always had to worry about when you go to court about getting hurt from the rival gangs, or by the deputies setting you up to try to get you hurt, because they were those who were racist, not everybody, but those who were
Yeah.
racist wanted something bad to happen to you.
Yeah, definitely. And take us through the time you were awaiting trial. You had countless court dates, waking up at 4:30 a.m., with little sleep, going back and forth. And you eventually get sentenced after all that time. But with so you got sentenced originally to 20 years for attempted murder and aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. But with good time, you served a total of 10 years, 10 months, and 10 days. The process, this is something that you mentioned previously, but the prosecutor recommended you for the California Youth Authority. Was there a sigh of relief knowing that you were sentenced and you now knew what to expect in the coming years, even though it was stressful, but at least you kind of knew what to expect in the coming years?
Well, first of all, we were originally charged with a lot of conspiracy charges, which had a lot of life sentences. There was four of those. There was other attempted murder charges. So, we were looking like at 50 to 80 years at sometimes, and life without parole. So when we went through three different jury trials, fighting and fighting, at towards the end of my last trial, and like a lot of people don't know, going to court, you're getting up at 4:30 in the morning. You're not getting back into your cell until 11 o'clock at night to repeat the process every day. At the end, I was just like, just convict me. Let it be over with. I can't do this no more. I was falling asleep during trial. My lawyer was getting mad at me, but we kept on fighting and fighting. And when they came down with the verdicts, and a lot of the people don't know this, a lot of the felonies got dropped or not guilty. And I was so happy with what I got convicted on, as that kind of sounds kind of weird, because I knew I had a chance of getting out. I didn't have life. The bailiffs there thought I was passing out, and they came to me and they was like, "You all right?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm happy." He goes, "You're going to be doing a lot of time." I said, "I know that, but I'm getting out," and that was the thing. And when the judge and the DA agreed to send me to the youth authority, I thought I was going to serve even less time than what I actually did, which I was glad to do that. But it was a good thing they sent me to the youth authority first and not directly to prison, because I would have been still running around with the same clowns that I grew up with, which I may
Yeah.
have never changed the direction. It took me a couple years to really learn a few things and start using my negative manipulation into a positive manipulation to get where I wanted to go.
Yep. And so we're gonna talk about so when after all that, when you were in the California Youth Authority, um, after that little bit of time, after a few years, you kind of realized that you could use the way you were for good, and you eventually kind of, started finding your purpose as a human being. You eventually started a spay and neuter program for cats on the property. Would you say that was your introduction to what would later become your humanitarian efforts?
It was probably a part of the start, because I've been like involved with animals before. And when I was a law clerk and a grievance clerk and everything at DeWitt, I was a lot more roaming privileges and got to do a lot of things no one else did. And there was an overpopulation of cats, and they wanted to kill them all. And
Yeah.
I talked to the warden and to the other people in the school system there, and saying, if we start catching them, getting them fixed and releasing them, then we'll alleviate the problem, and no one's going to be breeding. And they liked the idea, and they went along with it. So for probably my last year there, we did that and we successfully adopted them out. If there were dogs, I would have probably done the same thing, but you can't have dogs running around prison grounds. Cats
Yeah.
is a whole different story. So, and it was probably a start, and then towards the end, I applied for clemency, and got that governor's name, Pete Wilson, I think it was, that moron, you know, said no, you have to serve more time. You don't deserve to be released early. And I felt betrayed and angry. And then I was like, oh well, they're going to transfer me to a lower level prison because of all the positive time that I've served. You start at a level 5 and you go down and down, and I should have been a level 1. And when I woke up from my transfer, well, first they sent me to the reception center in CDC. And then a couple months after that, I thought I was going to a lower level. And I'm like, oh, you're going to Folsom. And I'm like, why? And I was, again, like, you wanted to give up on life because you do good and they reward you by sending you to gladiator school.
Yeah.
And, and that, that was a long bus ride, even though it was probably only an hour and a half.
Yeah. Yeah. So this takes us to the time you kind of got into it. So after you were 25, even though you didn't like it, you were shipped over to Folsom. And I wrote too much, so I'm trying to summarize the question here. So while you were there, you after a little bit of time, you became in charge of placing people in cells, aka being a slumlord. In your book, you describe it as training for one day becoming a boss. You were basically in real estate as far as you were concerned. So how did being a slumlord prepare you for getting out and running your own companies in the future?
I've always been somewhat of a business mind. I mean, I was probably one of the few inmates reading the Wall Street Journal and watching nightly business news on PBS and different things. And the job that I had were normally for only shop collars, and I got it by other correctional officers hating each other, wanting to piss each other off. And when I got that job, they didn't think I was going to be able to last that long. And when they saw what I was able to do and actually treat everybody the same way, the building that I ran, I balanced out to the ethnic populations of the percentages, and it gave me more sight to get access to things, to learn more things, and it says, what, I want to be a lawyer. That's what I wanted to do, actually, is become a
Yeah.
lawyer. And I ended up getting a paralegal uh, degree that, helped me out even to today. And so I thought about, becoming a lawyer was going to be hard, not knowing that after I got out of prison, my whole life was going to change even after that. But so it helped me getting that. And, I was studying for everything that the law clerk at the youth authority got me going. And that's what I wanted to do. But life is never the same. It changes everything. You never know what's going to happen in the next 5 years from now for me.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And then, once you get out, eventually, you were talking to somebody while you were in prison. You eventually get out and kind of moved in with this person. You guys have to read the book if you want to know what he called her. But I
I
don't
can
want to
tell
give
you
everything.
that the bride of Chucky.
Yeah, well, I don't want to give. I mean, we're taking people through your whole timeline here, but I don't want to give every little thing away. But anyway, so once you kind of moved in or whatever, you started seeing like she was batshit crazy. And how blindsided were you once she made threats on sending you back to prison? And how long did it take for you to quietly get out of there? It seems like no one really talks about women who are the abusers in abusive relationships. So,
Well, apparently I know how to pick them. So this one here, I mean, for a month after I got out, I couldn't find work. I couldn't get nothing. I was supposed to be getting transferred to another county. The parole system was all screwed up. Every other week I had a new parole officer, so there was nothing consistent. And I was going out clubbing, and I guess one of the somebody working at Universal Studios Hollywood uh, decided to see me dancing and want to know if I want to be part of a show at Universal. And I didn't want to do that. You still there? Because the screen went black.
yep, No, I'm still here. You're
All
on
right.
the other camera. Remember that?
Yeah, no, I know, but both everything went black on my end. And just as saying that, so I started with, getting into entertainment, which was going to be another, change in my life to help out my career.
Yeah.
And we're sitting down watching TV one time, and she made a comment to saying that, if you ever tried to cheat on me, I'm going to run my head through the TV and call your parole officer. I was gone in about 3 days.
Oh wow. So yeah. So now, did you start your
Yeah.
job already
So
while you were still with her, or because the way I wrote the questions, I
yeah,
wanted to
I
make
was
sure.
working. I was Yeah, I was already working at Universal, starting to get into the entertainment. Starting to do entertainment side jobs. This was see, I got out in October, so by December, I was really involved in a lot of entertainment gigs. So it was doing that, and I figured, I got my foot on. I ended up, moving to my friend's house for a couple of days until I got my own apartment in the lovely side of LA. And I was living in this room the size of a closet until I was able to, save more money up. But that started changing my life and getting involved in entertainment. And that's when I started to thinking about becoming a talent manager.
Okay. Yeah. But so when you got the job at Universal, basically you're saying that that job was the main factor in deciding and you choosing to be an entertainer and kind of work for yourself in that respects. Then.
Yeah, but even though that, I wasn't happy, even though we were making good money. I ended up getting two jobs because there was a screw up in my paperwork. So I didn't have no criminal background check. It came back blank, and it was a mistake with Sacramento. So I actually got a job working at the IRS filing claims for people and working for Bank of America as a personal banker. The IRS job was temporarily. The Bank of America job lasted 3 or 4 months until finally my record came back and they gave me a choice of either resigning or getting terminated and being charged because I
Mm.
lied on my application.
Oh
So
wow.
yeah, I was actually involved in transferring millions of dollars of other people's money and making good money. But that, when that fell through, it just kept me stronger to do other things and get more involved in entertainment and make more money out of it.
Oh yeah. And a major milestone, in your life, in a very important detail that helps change the course of your future was adopting Geisha. And after adopting Geisha, your passion for rescue comes into play. If it weren't for you adopting Geisha, do you think that the course of your life would have been the same?
If it wasn't for getting involved in pit bulls and getting another pit bull, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be in the cigar realm. I wouldn't be, on wouldn't have pit boss. I would, and now it's horrible for little people in entertainment and commercials, TV and film because our world's becoming so sensitive that
Yeah.
now it's not good to hire little people for the stereotypical roles,
Mm.
which is not doing little people no favors. They have no work. I mean, how many little people that you know of that are actually actors? Peter Dinklage and Meredith on NCIS or whatever it is. I mean, you know of no others. So the only work right now for little people that's is stand-in and stunt doubles for kids. So I
Yeah.
actually, you know, got when we got involved with Pit Boss and Animal Planet and everything, it kind of again worked out for us because it was going downhill. That was right after the recession of 2008, 2009. So corporations weren't hiring all these extra entertainers. So it kind of gave us another boost that we were going down the hill financially in the talent management company. So things have been just falling into perspective or connecting the dots of not knowing it will.
Yeah. Definitely. And I'm getting into where the origins of Shorty Wood and everything, like because you're kind of getting ahead of me here. So, but that's cool. So we'll back up just a little bit. That way we give people context. But while eventually you kind of, you kind of start doing stuff with the Radio City Rockettes. You're touring with them. We won't, people can read more about that, when they read the book too, but, you eventually meet Allison, who, at first, she was somebody who worked with them as well. You guys bumped heads at first, but eventually, you kind of kind of saw that she was a hard worker. You guys eventually developed that respect for each other, but you eventually started Shorty Wood Productions. How did that come about, and how long was it before Shorty Wood really took off?
We started Shorty Wood, I want to say, in the end of '98. It was called Short Entertainment then. And I teamed up with her when we were on tour with Radio City. And she had the same business sense. And we saw how we can not only make money for us, but make money off of other little people getting them jobs. So we started out slowly getting involved. I had to learn about the industry, and I started volunteering my time or interning at talent management agents' offices to see how things were ran. I started getting involved in stunt double work for kids and stand-in work where, you were able to, get in contact with more people and become more knowledgeable about the industry. And slowly, we just started booking these huge corporate gigs. We started getting commercials, making appearances on, different projects of movies, television, film, theater, and it just grew and grew, and it just happened. It fell into place. And the funny thing is, people never knew this for the longest. We're still involved in Pitbull Rescue and learning more about that, and getting involved because again, we're started out real small and going into blinded, so you had to learn and see how the rescue world was a whole nother you know shit show in itself, but we
Yeah.
learned.
Yeah, and throughout that time, you and your your roommate, you guys kind of, somebody that you met who was a parent of one of the kids who worked with the Radio City Rockettes, basically hired you to go out to Pennsylvania, so it was you, your roommate,
Of all places.
like the middle of bumfuck nowhere. You guys, like, people were, thinking you guys were drug dealers, but you had Geisha, you had
Yeah, Glen Lyon,
BB,
Pennsylvania.
and you had a few of your dogs already. I think you got Mussolini at that time, if I remember correctly. But you know, but this is before you were actively, really knew too much about spanning, and then both of them ended up getting pregnant and all that. So during that time, and then you guys ended up moving out of there because it just, just didn't seem to fit or whatever. But you moved across the country with a bunch of pit bulls because you didn't know that you could, adopt them or sell them out at 8 weeks old. So what was it like moving across the country over to Vegas with, a shit ton of pit bulls at that time, without your knowledge of spaying and neutering at the time?
Or traveling with that, man. We ended up getting this truck from Penske, which had a door inside the cab. So we set up a whole kennel situation where you can open there, and we stacked all our belongings and filled it completely up and put that little convertible Mercury Capri on the trailer. And it was 2 litters of puppies. There was about 9 or 8 in each litter with 4 adult pit bulls. I think it was Geisha, BB, Mussolini, and I'm forgetting somebody. Hercules. Hello. No, Hercules wasn't there yet. There's another one, but we traveled, and it was hell on wheels, and we were getting stressed out. And I remember we were stopping in Tennessee at a rest stop, and I had to go sit down on the in the bathroom, and I came out, and I seen all these puppies running around everywhere because he was couldn't have the patience to let them out a few times. People were helping us, chasing them down, getting them, and they were more beyond 8 weeks by then.
Yeah,
And it was just when we finally made it to Vegas. I mean, we were sleeping in the truck, everything the whole term because you couldn't stop anywhere at a hotel with that many puppies. So, it was one of the longest trips of my life. I thought, and when we got there, and and we had some friends that helped us get a house and everything, and I wanted to try to get into entertainment in Vegas, which I did. It was pretty, we had quite a few contracts going on for a while, but it's something that we'll never do again.
yeah. And around this time when you were in Vegas, like you said, you had some contracts out there. You were doing some entertainment, but you were also kind of you were trying to rescue pit bulls, but you were kind of like breeding them too. You didn't, both of those things were at odds.
The
And how did you
breeding,
regain control after
the
that? Because
breeding
in
part,
your book, you described yourself as you became like almost like it was like a a hoarding situation with pit bulls. How did you get back on track
yeah,
after that?
it became a hoarding situation. It changed pretty quick because we were in Vegas, I think, for 3 years, and it just kind of changed because a lot of times we start seeing the puppies we sold back at the dog pound,
Mm,
and when we start realizing that, we stopped. And I started getting involved with a lot of rescue groups there because we were selling puppies and adopting puppies and dogs out. We were rescuing and we were breeding, and so when that changed and we got them all, a lot of them adopted out. We started working with different places. We started volunteering our time at a pet hotel so they can give us, kennels or rooms where we can store our rescues so it don't become a hoarding situation. And that's when Vegas got us really involved and Shorty's Rescue kind of really took off there. And that's when we
yeah,
got into into stopping dog fighting, getting involved into the more wilder and crazy rescues. And right when the contracts ran out all at the same time, I said, you know what? We're moving back to LA.
mm,
And I went on my own. My roommate, who had a drug problem, went back to San Francisco, and we started, doing things there. And I remember moving into uh, in Big Bear Lake into a cabin, and also into a boat on Venice, trying to, get our business going again and see what we can do. And that's when we started shopping around for reality shows for the talent management side and not the people rescue.
yeah. And we're gonna back it up again because we're gonna get into all that as well. So, out of all the dogs in Vegas, you got Hercules out of that. In your book, you describe him as a menace. He was eating drywall, and you were about to adopt him out, but he said he eventually got like docile. He went from a menace to a docile, and calm. That everyone knew was your sidekick. But so how long did it take for him to get from being that menace to docile, and what made you decide to keep him at that point?
Well, yeah, and I left something out before I went to Los Angeles. That right towards the end, when we were getting ready to, leave Vegas and everything, he was around 12, 13 months old, and we were trying to find, you know, I was going to keep a dog named Crash and adopt Hercules out, and that's when I injured myself and my back went out, and I had to, go to San Francisco for rehab for a short time, and he wouldn't leave my side at the bed. He would not let me, nowhere, and I'm like, the bond really started, and that's when he grew up and changed,
Yeah,
and so we were going to get him neutered, and he almost died at the surgery table because at that time we thought he was allergic to anesthesia. We later found out that we thought it was that they gave him too much. So that just changed. And Hercules, Mussolini, BB, and Geisha went with me to San Francisco, then to LA. So yeah, it kind of just changed everything. And when I was at the doctor's office in San Fran, the doctor goes, well, you need help with mobility. Why don't you train one of your dogs to be service animals? And that was kind of like new to me, thinking it was only for, the hearing impaired or the sight impaired or the blind
yeah,
or deaf. It was just like it wasn't out there. And it was coming new where people were using them as mobility and medical alert dogs. And so we did it. And, I took him out to the subway system, the BART in the Bay Area, his first day during rush hour, and he just laid down like this was his life. This is what he was going to do until he passed away. And he
yeah,
lived for 14 years, and for 13 years he was my service animal. So again, life never you don't never plan on doing what you want to do. It
yeah.
changes, and that's what happens.
So Hercules was just meant to be, and I actually, I was very lucky. I got to meet Hercules when I was hanging out with you and JD and Jeff Borshowitz at Corona. And Hercules, man, he's the same way on TV as he is in person, just
Was
like
that
you.
in Orlando?
Yeah, that was at the Orlando Pet Expo.
Okay, yeah, because
Yep,
it was Jeff from Corona. That was Orlando. So
yep.
it wasn't the IPCPCR, what the PCA thing. It was
No,
the convention,
it
huh?
was in Orlando at the Orlando Pet Expo.
Okay.
Yep.
Wow, that was a while ago.
So yeah, man, rest in peace to Hercules, man. He's done that dog has done more for the pit bull breed than any other pit bull known to man. So he definitely served you well, brother.
Oh yeah, that dog was a legend to me. We keep him alive in spirit here, every time because I mean when he passed away and we made the notice on social media, I never expected the response.
Yeah,
I turned my phone off. I wouldn't talk to nobody. I would only, do it where I can, socialize on social media. I turned my messaging off. People were pissed at me. I says, when I'm ready, I'll talk. I don't want to go through that, and
yeah,
it took a while to even go back at the when he passed away. The next day, I had to go on a road trip across the country, and I think that was the best thing because I wouldn't be at home, looking at everything. There's a million paintings of him in this house. Even though we took him with us, it was the
yeah,
best. I got into that 37 Chevy to travel across the country rolling with him. And it was just every time I had to do my PowerPoint presentation for my keynote speaking, for probably 2 years, I had to stop every time. But now of course the things get easier, but you always look and always think about, dude, if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't be here again because
yep,
things happen just to change lives. Geesa changed it. When we rescued her, we thought we were doing, the breed a favor and rescuing a dog, which, and more in general, she changed my entire life along with Hercules, or along with, everything that went on to the future after that.
hmm And I'm gonna skip some questions to get to some more important stuff because I don't want we want this to be a meaningful interview, um, and not just go over stuff just to fill stuff. But so let's talk about Pit Boss. Animal Planet really put you on the forefront back in 2010 with your own show. How did Pit Boss come about, and how much did it boost your influence when it came to rescuing pit bulls?
The funny thing is that, when we were in entertainment, we were trying to, all the reality was new. And for years, we were always pitching shows about the talent management company and little people. You know, it was a show in itself because of what went on these private parties and the corporate events and everything. And we were shopping around, and every time we went to networks, we went to we went to different networks across the country, trying to get a show. We always had Geisha and Hercules with us, and people would like startle and everything. What's that? It was just our service animals, and we didn't even talk about the rescue we had. We didn't even bring that up, and it took 10 years, and E Network ended up giving us an offer for the Shortywood project, and we turned it down, which was everybody thought we were the most dumbest people in the world because of what their contract was. And there's one production company, kept us, saying, no, we can do this. And I told them no. Well, Animal Planet was sent things out to production companies. We need something that's not been on TV before, unusual, different, crazy. And that's when they remembered Shorty and the Pit Bulls. And she knew I had a rescue because she had asked me about it. And she came at me, and I'm like, really? I said, they're not going to put Pit Bulls on TV. And so we did our teaser reel, what we do and everything, along with, the production company. And when they submitted it to Animal Planet, they thought it was a completely made up story. Little people, pit bulls, a talent manager. And they started
Yeah.
Googling us and researching us. And they said, yeah, let's do a pilot. Let's just see how it goes. And it was it was a weird story. So the funny thing is my background was on hush status. Nobody knew. There was people in the entertainment industry because a lot of little people were getting jealous of our success, and they would contact these shows and saying, he's an ex-murderer, an ex-convict, or they would try to damage my reputation. So we kind of kept it quiet, and we had to fill a packet like this thick of all these
Mm.
things from Discovery Networks, and it came to the same question about our past criminal record, my past criminal record, and I no 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 no, and about right before we were starting production, they had a major meeting. We need a meeting with the people in New York, and it was a video conference. I went in the production office in Beverly Hills, and I was asking Kevin and Michelle, "What's this about?" And they're like, "I don't know. This doesn't happen. There's something wrong." And they had a packet that they sent there, and they said, "Don't open it until we do the meeting." And when we opened it, the lady said, he goes, when they opened it, I knew what that was. I saw the paperwork. I'm like, "Oh, we're screwed. We're done." And they're like, everyone at the production company, Intuitive Entertainment, was like, "What is this?" I said, "Well," I said, "That's my criminal record," and it was thick.
Mm.
And they're like, you know, and they said they didn't know about it. And I'm not saying no, they didn't. They knew nothing. And I'm like, so where do we go from here? And then they got into conversations like, well, the different times you've been arrested. I'm like, no, that's all one case. And they're like, what? And I said, yeah. And they're like, well, we want to know if we can include this in your storyline of the show because we believe that it's actually going to be better that this is said and everything. And I'm like it felt like something was just lifted off me, and I'm like, go for it.
Wow.
And that was like it was like I don't know how you say it. It was like freedom. I no longer have to hide behind a curtain.
Yeah.
I no longer to say those skeletons that back there. We're finally going to come alive.
Yeah.
And it was a gamble because I was still nervous how it was going to take, and when we did it, because I didn't tell nobody that, nobody, my family, nobody that was going to happen, and it happened the day, right before the show was getting ready to air in January 2010. It was, I tell my sister, I said, you better tell everybody, everything's coming out of the closet. And it was a lot of anger with my family and everything. Why would you do this to us? Not knowing what it was actually going to do and
Yeah.
actually, bring out and everything. So again, history was made.
Absolutely. And it seems like, this is probably going to be one of my last questions about Pit Boss, but it seems like Animal Planet captured a lot of the dramatic moments, about you and, going on with your staff. I know reality TV, it feeds off the drama. We all know that. But did you feel like they painted you
Yes.
as an angry boss fostering a hostile work environment? Or does the fact that you have very high standards just translate to looking like that and they happen to capture all the dramatic moments for better ratings?
Well, you know what? They kind of funny when they saw the teaser reel and when we started filming for the pilot and they started seeing clips before it got put together, and they had another, they had another conference call saying you don't have to overact things. And we said, no, this is what it is. I'm like, are you telling me to soften up and not cuss and not smoke cigars? And they're like, well, no, we want this. We didn't realize. I said, yeah, I can be an asshole for the people that work for me because I expect, you know, what you do. This is what I pay you for. And a lot of people goes when they meet me, I'm a nice person. I'm like, well, you don't work for me, or you don't live with me or whatever. So, a lot of people couldn't understand it. It was just that's who I am. I've kind of calmed down throughout the years, um,
Yeah.
but I'm still, that person. It took me a while to, even with my workers down here, I went through quite a few because they couldn't deal with the anger. And so
Yeah.
I had to, do it in different ways to make my point. I mean, I still lose it. I still go off the hook, but not as much as I did. And even with the battling with the cigars on TV, it was a constant battle where they were hiding them. They were hiding my cigar cutter, hiding my lighter. And so it was a whole game of back and forth of them because technically we weren't supposed to be smoking on TV.
Yeah. But hey, you know, you are who you are, and that's kind of why I related to you because with the way I am, what you see is what you get. Like I'm not one way in front of people and one way at home. Like what you see is what you get. So I mean, that's what and I'm just real, just like you. You're real. You don't sugarcoat shit for anybody. So that's why I love you. But um, one of the more well, there's a couple more pit boss things, but this is actually on something that you had a hand because you personally fought for this over some years. But one of the more memorable episodes was when you went into Denver to protest the breed-specific legislation, and some years after that, they finally overturned the BSL law after more than 30 years. What did that news mean to you since you had a hand in fighting it?
Well, I mean, it was a real victory because you're dealing with a major city, just like Miami-Dade County, because it's easier to change the small cities, the small towns, the population of 2, 3 thousand people because there's no education and it's based on um, false information. And even when we did fight it, and I still remember that congressperson, Charlie Brown, and he was the most discriminatory person toward the breed that I've ever like met in my life. And we were able to get the service dog thing changed for the city of Denver, but nothing else. And people said, "Get it changed?" I said, "Things take time. It's going to
Hmm.
happen." And with shows like Pit Boss, with shows like Pit Bulls and Prolies, and even with Caesar Milan, I mean, those people, all of us, not just one person, and the people that are not having TV shows that have basically given their life of helping fighting these laws. I mean, a lot of people ask me who my heroes. It's those people you don't hear about. That help the breed. There are so many people out there. I mean, Bridget from Fresno Bully Rescue and Shannon from oh God, I'm drawing a blank. She's gonna kill me. She's watching this. My pit bulls are family, and other rescue groups, even Sylvester's Pit Bull Rescue Group in Pennsylvania. Those are the people who are helping and fighting. I mean, Bad Rap in you know Northern California. I mean, there's so many pit bull rescue groups that I can't mention. Those are the people that help us. I mean, of course, you
Yeah.
have other people that have a chance to influence things because they've been on TV, but it's still a long thing going. We're still fighting in Miami-Dade County. I mean, it's going to happen, but
Yep.
and then we had to fight with Delta Airlines, and even after winning this, we're still having problems with them because they're a multi-billion-dollar corporation, and they're being fined every day this happens because they're still being defiant. What the Department of Justice told them they can't do it.
Yeah. And that's sad, but hopefully that with Delta Airlines, hopefully they just quit giving people shit because that's discrimination. It's no different than saying, oh, you can't ride here because you're black. It's
Well, a lot
discriminating
of
against the breed
problems,
of dog.
uh, unfortunately, is the airlines are not seeing both sides; they're only seeing one side. But a lot of these problems were caused of people taking advantage of the service dog laws, and at the time when emotional support animals were allowed on airplanes, and all you needed was a online doctor's note, which any moron can get. So everybody didn't want to pay the $80 to $100 animal fee, or they couldn't even transfer their big animals. They register them as emotional support animals, and people were bringing these untrained, aggressive, unfriendly dogs of all breeds onto airplanes and cramming
Yep.
them in like sardines. And these dogs couldn't control themselves because they weren't trained properly, and they start snapping at people. They start defecating on the airplane. They start, getting loose,
Yep.
and, that was the problem. And the airline had to protect themselves because they were getting sued for all these incidents. And, and finally, now the Department of Justice and the Airline Association or the FAA and decided that, all right, no more emotional support animals on planes. And that's kind of taking the pressure off the people with service animals who really need them. I mean, even
Yeah.
our boy Francis, who's works, he was trained as a service animal, and on 3 different occasions in 3 different airports, he was attacked by other people's service animals,
Yep.
and that made him not trust dogs.
Yep.
And if we're in public, there's a dog can't get no closer than 4 feet to him because he's thinking he's going to get attacked.
Yeah.
In Houston International, he got attacked by three little it was 2 Chihuahuas and a Yorkie, and then in Chicago he got attacked by a mixed breed dog, and then in LA, or no, San Francisco, he got attacked. And this dog, they changed this behavior of this dog. He's still a good dog. He still can travel, but
Yeah.
it's just like, you did this to this boy because you brought these, who needs 3 emotional support animals? Nobody does.
Exactly.
You
That
did
it
this
just
so you
doesn't
could
make
travel
sense.
with your dogs and thought it was cute,
Yeah.
and I'm going to piss off some people, but I can care less because you're the reason why we're in this damn thing as it is.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. So this is the last pit boss question here, and then because I'm trying to get the important shit. On the show, there was an episode where you reunited with your parents and you went home to visit after many years. Did that episode play a role in helping to mend you and your parents' relationship in any way, or was that kind of like after the fact as you've kind of gotten older?
It's No, 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 because there were still issues. There were still problems on both sides. I was hard headed as can be. Things, it was still problems, and that was a slow process of amending things. It wasn't, it was a start. It
Yeah.
was, I was defiant at first and did not want to do it because I didn't, want to, oh, everything's perfect and everything. But it was a good thing that the production company, producers, and the network that says you have to reconnect, let it go. So it started the slow process. There were still bumps, there were bumps and it goes on both sides that, me and my sister talk about this all the time. Is like, people are not going to change. Sure, you're going to be the way you are. And I talk to my sister the same way. We're all different. And if we can let go of holding against the past, if we can let go of, you're going to live your life no matter who likes it or not. And, my parents are going to be who they are no matter what, and learn to accept each other. Because it's just like friends and brothers and sisters. And, I have
Hmm.
another sister I haven't spoke to since 2000, and we still try to reconnect with her, but there's always something that she has not changed that is going to cause problems from the past.
Yeah.
One day it might connect. There's no anger, animosity towards her, but some of the things haven't changed. So, but now it's been going on for a few years, and I haven't seen my parents since the beginning, I think, of last year before the pandemic. But it was, we talk. I mean, finally, my dad was anti-internet, and they didn't have internet for the longest, and we finally, because of the pandemic and because of the new video doctor thing, televisit, or whatever it is, they had to get internet. They had to do that, which reconnected us even stronger because they were able to see us through social media, video conferencing, or
Yeah.
talking on Facebook Messenger, which and then they get to see their granddaughters and grandsons, and be able to see photos that normally they won't see because a lot of us don't take pictures anymore and send them through snail mail.
Yeah.
We just don't do that no more. And my parents are based on snail mail. And so it brought everybody, even closer. And, they actually get to see, this. I think my mom is watching this right now, and she's able to see things that she would never be able to see. They didn't realize how big of a property we have here and how many animals we actually have, and don't realize the day-to-day operations of everything we do. You can't tell that in a phone call or letter, but you can
Yep.
see it on the videos and the photos on social media, you know.
Hmm.
And so, they get to, oh, we saw this, we saw that. That's, social media has its negative and positive things, but that's one of the positive things.
Yep. And if Shorty's mom's watching, shout out to Mrs. Rossi. Shout out to you. And I'm glad that, you guys, your family dynamic has gotten better. I always like to hear positive stories like that, like, of reconciliation. So, but once the show took off, you had the opportunity
Well,
to
I mean,
launch your own.
everything works together.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So once the show took off, you had the opportunity to launch your own line of cigars. You had the Diesel Shorty Rage, San Bajito, Acid Shorty, and Drew Estate Natural Shorty, and the Shorty Punisher. The only ones that are currently out, I believe, I know the Diesel Shorty and the Diesel Shorty Rage. Those are, they were supposed to be limited, but the other stuff's not in production. But when I met you originally, you actually gave me like pretty much like the full lineup. So I got to smoke the San Bajito and the Shorty Punisher. And actually, my friend Brian Lewis, who's watching right now, he uh he uh he left a comment. He said he's aged his Shorty Punisher for 8+ years.
Damn.
So I put that up earlier, but yeah, he loves that cigar. I personally don't like that cigar. He was gonna send it to me when I told him I was gonna interview you, but I was like, no, I don't like all that spice. I liked all the other cigars, but yeah. So how did your cigar lines come about, and why do you think your Diesel Shorties have stood the test of time?
So, right when the show kicked off in the beginning of 2010 and the popularity grew real quick, we didn't realize that it was going to be that big of a hit. I started contacting cigar companies, cigar factories. Not, I was really new in the industry. I've been smoking cigars since again I was in junior high school. I became a connoisseur in Folsom Prison, and I was collecting labels and everything. I was, when I was working my deals with the we call the selling of the Slumlord issue. I was getting paid by people sending me different kind of expensive cigars, and at that time when the show was on, I was able to afford the Maduro Punch.
Hmm.
And out of everybody that I contacted, everybody but one person came to me saying, "Well, what can you do for us?" And this one person came to me and goes, "Well, what can we do for you?" And I
Mm.
explained to him my situation. Did not know nothing about Cigars International, Cigar.com, and AJ Fernandez was getting new into the game. Diesel was a new line of cigars, and people don't realize that who AJ is today and who AJ was in 2010 was,
Yep.
just a success story in itself. And when they, gave me the unholy cocktail, I tried it and I said, "Can we tweak it just to make it a little bit, stronger?" And I'm like, "They're like, really?" And they did a small minor tweak, and they agreed to do the 4.5 by 60 size. And you know, he the funny thing is Alex Swenson is his name,
Yep.
and he goes, "Well, I'm gonna send you down to Nicaragua." And he goes, I said, "You out of your damn mind?" And he goes, "Look at man, you are living in Mexico, and you're talking about going down to Nicaragua. You got me there. You believe in the media crap." I said, so he sent me down there. I went down there by myself the first time, no dog, nothing, and that was an adventure in itself. And the funny thing is, when I went down there, the show wasn't in Latin America yet, and I was getting a tour around, AJ's old small factory, Drew Estates factory, and Nestor Placenta factory, and in Drew Estate, I think it was Drew Estate. No, it was Nestor's factory. I was given a tour, and it kind of came to a culture shock because they didn't understand, why I was getting all this attention. The workers, the factory workers, and then finally, the one of the managers there had a had a question and didn't want to be offensive and saying, "Why is everybody catering to the peasant?"
Mm.
And we're like, "Wow!" And the funny thing is that they try to explain what we do and everything in the United States. He's, the pit boss and everything. And they still didn't really realize. Well, when I left, the show started to be in the air in Nicaragua, all over, South America, Central America, Mexico, everywhere. And we went back and we're going through AJ's, or no, Drew's factory. And I was with Nick, who's now with Foundation Cigars, or who's the creator of Foundation
Yep.
Cigars, and created a lot of Drew Estate cigars. And you know, people were taking pictures. We had Hercules there. One of my workers were with me, and they told us we had to leave the factory because we were slowing down production. So I went from being a peasant to being somebody everyone wanted to take a photo, which was kind of, again, perception. People judge something of a cover when they don't know it.
Yep.
So it
Absolutely.
happened. The cigar took off, and even today, the Diesel Original is one of the best-selling Diesel line of cigars, and that's why we're still there. I mean, they were worried about the show going off and the sales declining, and it's actually been a steady, sales thing to this day. And every month when I get that wired royalty check, it's tells me how well it's doing.
Absolutely. And do you have any aspirations to work with any other cigar companies in the future?
With the funny thing with that, when we're doing all these other lines and everything, trying to sell, make it bigger, we always came back to why work on something that's working itself with the diesel line, and we can't, let's not try to focus on other things. Let's focus on what's working. So as of right now, there's no other plans. It could change, but I'm happy to still be involved in the cigar game. I'm still
Yeah.
happy to, be a part of the cigar world. You know, um, Again, a lot of times when different cigar companies use celebrities or reality stars or sports stars, they're not in the game that long, and I've been 11 years now, and I'm still here.
Yep.
And,
Even
and
without being on TV, you're still here.
CI, yeah, and Cigars International has been nonstop supporting of what we do. They're always helping out our charity. They always, everywhere I go, they're always, let me send you this. Let me, so you can pass this out. Here's some, gear. Here's some stuff. I think we do more now than we did before because I was so busy then doing all the expos and the touring and everything. So now we have more time to focus on the line. And as long as keeping it strong, keeping it going, and people keep ordering them and buying them, you know, at some of the brick and mortar stores, it's just like you know. But at the same time, I get pinpointed for being that cigar international guy, which is they're the ones that got my cigar career going, and I'm always going to be loyal to them. But that's part of the game.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's talk about what you're currently up to. We went through your whole life story, and everybody that wants to know more, you need to go online, search for Shorty Rossi's book called 4 Feet Tall and Rising. And I personally read that book over 100 times. I don't even have the jacket anymore of it. It's just because the jacket is like worn out, so it's just the actual book. It's
Book,
just it's
yeah.
just interesting. And whenever I feel down, I just I like to read about stuff that inspires. So, everyone out
Well,
there, you
right now
definitely, if
we're
you haven't already, check out his book. So,
Well, right now with the book, we're in a legal battle with the publisher. So the
oh,
hard copy of it has been stopped for the moment. But you
okay.
can go on Amazon and purchase the audio version, which is probably better than reading it because you get to actually hear my voice talking and sounding the
Oh, so
way it
you're reading the
should be.
audio version?
And yeah, so the audio version is still on sale on Amazon and a couple other places, but that'll give you that. But it's everything's a constant legal battle of trying to get things done. So right now, temporarily, the hardcover is not being sold unless you buy a used copy off of Amazon or something. You can get
Okay.
that, but the audio version is still going strong. And we've been in. What happened is we're in talks of doing an updated book, and this is what kind of got stalled out. So It'll
Ah,
happen one day.
yeah, and best believe when you do an updated book, Shirtless Mike will be reading, and I'll probably have you autograph them both this time around.
There
But
you
yeah,
go.
so um, tell us about your mobile vet clinic, and you've been posting about that online, and what's the progress like with that? Like, what's the whole plans with that in general?
Let's take a little back about a year so we can kind of understand what's been going on. Most before the pandemic happened, no one knew this was going to happen at all, and when all majority of my fundraising for the rescue was done traveling, uh, majority of my income was done through keynote speaking and cigars. So back in March of last year, when the pandemic got hit hard and everything was being canceled, it shut us down completely, and we thought we were going to have to shut the rescue down. We thought we were going to have to, let go of our employees, and we didn't know because we were planning on this income for the rest of the year, and so we had to again start all over. And a lot of people don't know this, that we were on the verge of just shutting down, and we reinvented ourselves, online. We were supposed to be opening, working on starting opening up the other property we have and building there, but we had to use the funds to, stretch it out to have us survive. And when we reinvented ourselves and find other ways, we weren't really a big online presence of raising money for the rescue. I
Yeah,
still had my cigar. The only income I had and still have, was my cigar income. That would cover the basics. So we wouldn't know what we are going to do. And so we reinvented a lot of things about, let's figure ways. And we went on an online campaign. We had other people help us out. And last year was I guess, one of our best years we ever had for raising money for the rescue and doing our free clinics and different programs. So it gave us the ideas of doing different things. And earlier this year, we decided that we can, instead of having, we do have a pop up permanent clinic here at the rescue that we utilize, but we decided we were going to do a mobile clinic and get a big panel van that the average height people can stand in. And one of the ladies out of Tito's, Michelle and Elizabeth out of Austin, Texas, contacted us and wanted to help. And they got us going to raise money for this project. And then after, when we did the match program and other people got involved helping us out, one of our friends, uh, Craig and Angie McDonald, who's is in Santa Maria with the motorhome, were giving different ideas. And he was like, he sent me a photo of a bus. I'm like, school bus. And I know, with too much conversion. And he said, well, why don't you try a motorhome? And we're like, a motorhome? And then we started thinking about it, saying, because a lot of the spay and neuter things we do are out in the middle where there's no running water, no electricity, nothing, and we can actually have a running mobile clinic with an office, with a sink, with a toilet, instead of us, peeing in somebody's neighborhood, in a corner somewhere or whatever. So we can,
yeah,
do this. And so we researched, and Craig McDonald really helped us out like immensely. And I'm like, Craig, there's still a lot of work. He goes, I'm going to help you. And he actually went and picked up the motorhome for us in the border of or somewhere out in Yucaipa, California. We got it there, and hopefully, we've been working on it for about 5 months now, with a lot of bumps because we didn't realize what we are getting into, of what we needed to complete this project. And of course, buying a used, of anything, there's other things that are unforeseen that we've had to get repaired. And it's those who follow us are seeing the huge progress that, of Central City Motorsports. I got to give them a shout out. Has been doing all the labor for free to get
nice.
this done, and it's just like another. We're hopefully less than a week away to bring this monstrosity down here, and finish it up, because we still got to get it painted, because we're getting painted for a fraction of the cost that it would cost in a discount in the U.S. And it's like another milestone in my career, a bucket list that we're doing things that usually multi-million dollar foundations do, but on a smaller scale.
Yeah.
And the amount of people, besides Tito's and Lucy Pet Food and everybody that's been helping us, we've had several small donors helping us out because we've been putting money into this damn thing to get it going. And it's going to happen. We're supposed to go for this weekend and drive up back to Central California. And me and my one of my old assistants, Omar, is agreed to come down there because none of my workers can go to the U.S. at the moment because of the freaking damn border restrictions. So it's
Mm.
been hard for me to do everything on my own without none of my workers. And so we're going to bring it down here and have a field day going through customs and everything else, and hopefully, you know, in in a real short time, start doing some major surgeries and stuff in that clinic. And I mean, I'm like a kid in a candy store. It's one of the best Christmas presents ever for our rescue. I mean, people don't know how. And when I get these updated photos the last couple of days of how far they've been coming along with it, because I said, Craig, I need this by the following weekend. I got to get it down painted. I got to get it ready, to get going so people can actually see that we're actually going to use it for this purpose because it's taken far longer than expected. But I, I'm I'm in awe. I don't know what I'm so humble for that. It's just, once somebody says, "What are you going to do after that?" Like, let's just get it down here first and start doing it.
Yep. You're just gonna continue to do what you've been doing, continue with your mission. And so, everybody out there watching, whether you're watching live with us still, or whether or not you catch this later, um, that's what we're helping to raise money for, because he does a lot of stuff with his rescue, but that's going to help with that. Of course, he's got to feed all the dogs that they have, and you also have a rescue facility on your property, don't you? You got kennels, and you mentioned that they're full
Yeah,
right now.
we'll see. Well, we've even during the pandemic, we've doubled the size of our kennels. We've actually did a lot of major renovations, a lot of more things, and we didn't want to make it look like the common, dog pound or stuff like that.
Yeah,
We wanted to make it to an appealing place, not just for for people to see, but for the dogs itself. And so, I mean, unfortunately, the pandemic has made us bigger, and we also have a year and a half ago we opened up a pet store about a mile away from here, and that helps our rescue. So everything goes. People don't understand. We just don't rescue these animals, these pit bull bully type breeds. We help the community. In this area especially, on the there's a lot of people that want animals that can't afford it, and if they don't get them fixed, then there's the stray dog problem down here is horrible. So
yeah,
there's other people that are helping, but we want to be a major part. That's why we do free spay and neuter clinics, free vaccination clinics, free dog training. And a lot of that got pushed away during the pandemic, but now we're full force. They just had a clinic down the way that helped out, I think, 60 animals. So with everybody teaming up together, now we're able to do more bigger fundraising events that is helping out. And we're getting ready to do a golf tournament in South Dakota that really is going to help us out. We'll be back at Deadwood Tobacco during the Sturgis Motorcycle Rally. Wow, Bill there, he is he's a he doesn't realize this, but he's a major sponsor in what we do. And so it's just, we're nonstop. We just added another kennel on the other side. They were putting clay tiles on another doghouse they just built. So we do more now. During Pit Boss we were rescuing, but we weren't
yeah,
helping as much. Now
yeah,
we're doing involved and all hands on, and and everybody's like, why Mexico? If you understand
yeah.
the cost of medical care, the cost of housing, the cost of everything, I wouldn't be able to do 1/4 of the work that I do now being down here. And we're really only 50 miles away from the international border. We're in the US all the time doing things to help, things. And actually, about 98% of our adoptions down here go to people in the US.
hmm So before we get off of here, is there anything else that you wanted to mention? We talked about a lot of good stuff. Um, Anything else you wanted to plug, or before we get off of here?
I mean, for those who are on social media, which I guess you wouldn't be watching this if you weren't on social media, follow us what we do on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, everything at Shorty Rossi. See what we do. I mean, we're one of the few rescues that actually show people everything what goes on and running a rescue, running clinics, doing things that people don't get the opportunity to see what some of these rescue groups do here, or
Hmm.
do across the world. And we want people to, follow us that. I mean, of course, support us if you can, but if there's some another rescue group down the way that you know of, they need your help because a lot of them didn't make it. A lot of them have to close down. A lot of them struggled, and, Dog Nation in Missouri, I thought they were going to close down. Sean is still doing it. It's just that we all need the help, and we're, thanks to my friend Shane out of the state of Kansas is one of my big helpers, and we try to help him of changing laws across the country and fighting this discriminatory breed ban. So it's a constant thing, and you know what? We always tell people if you donate $1, you're helping because if we have a lot of people donate $1, it's actually helping us. Small things, big things, are doing it. So just keep following us of what we're doing. Hey, every time you purchase a Diesel Shorty cigar, you're actually helping with our cause of what we do. So you don't have to donate. Go buy one of these. Hey, put a shorty in your mouth and go puff puff.
Absolutely. Well, I'm just going to reiterate it one last time here. So the information to donate, you could go to shortysrescue.org. Donate direct. All of it's donating directly, but I also have a, on the Shirtless Mike page, you could donate there, or on my Instagram at Shirtless Mike 2020. I already got a good little amount started, so make that donation. It's going to go for 30 days, but anytime you want to donate, you could always go, right on Shorty's website and all that. So everybody that tuned in, I want to thank you so much. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe on the YouTube, share this out because I want to get
And
this message out to as many people as possible.
yes. And also to my cigar people, I hope to see you in Split Rock, PA at the Cigar Fest in October. Finally, it's happening, we hope, and
I
not
just
getting
saw the
canceled.
news.
So it's finally freaking happening. We're going out there, and I'd be so happy to see all 6,000 of you guys. You know, we want to see you there. We're going to have my boy Others there. Bring your tennis balls. Let's have some fun, In like August, I'll be in Deadwood, Tobacco. For those who are going to Sturgis Rally, come say hello, buy a cigar. Let's just have fun at this because life is, you never know when it's going to end, people.
Absolutely. All right. Well, Shorty, man, I appreciate you for coming on the show. We could chop it up for a minute once we're not live or whatever. That's what I always do. But I'll let you know when we're
Yes.
not live, man. I appreciate your time, man. And this was probably one of my best interviews that I really enjoyed. So, yeah, everybody that tuned in, thank you so much and have a great evening.